Good morning. Today we are going to complete the last week's chapter, which is unemployment and inflation. So today we are going to start the second part, which is inflation. What's meant by inflation? Inflation means a continuous increase in the general price level. And here we talked about general price level, not only price of a single commodity. So this is average prices, not for a single commodity, but for all products on average. So if prices increase, this is inflation. If it is decreasing, this is known as deflation. If prices increase rapidly, this is known as hyperinflation. So hyperinflation, if inflation rate is 50%, for example, this is not an inflation, it's hyperinflation. Okay. So now we would like to know how inflation rate is measured and what is the impact of inflation or increase in the general price level on the economy. Do you think why inflation is considered as a problem? So first we are going to start with impact of inflation on the economy. The increase in the general price level or inflation had three different impacts on the economy. Number one, it affects distribution of income. Number two, lower real GDP and employment. Number three, divert resources from production. How? Now we are going to explain each one of the three factors. Number one, distribution of income. Okay, let's assume that there are two individuals, one of them is lender and the other one is borrower. So the lender is going to give $1,000 to the borrower. The borrower should pay them back after 1 year. Okay, say for example I am going to borrow 1,000 from Karim. and I am going to repay it after 1 year. Nowadays, $1,000 will purchase 1,000 can of Pepsi. Say for example, the price per can is $1. So we can buy 1,000 cans of Pepsi. Okay, after a year, prices increases. Price of Pepsi increase from 1 to 2. So the $1,000 will buy 500 cans instead of 1,000. So the lender is going to get $1,000, but the purchasing power of this $1,000 is much more lower than the $1,000 nowadays. Okay, this means that inflation redistributes income from borrower to lender. Sorry, from lender to borrower. Borrower take a huge amount of money, but the purchasing power of this money when he is going to return it back, it's gonna be nothing. Number 2, divert resources from production. If you are a producer and you have 100 LE, that can be used to purchase raw material. This raw material will be used in the production of any product. As prices increase, the quantity you are going to purchase from raw material is going to decrease. So production will decrease as well. Okay, as production decreases, do you think you are going to hire more workers? No. So workers will be laid off. Or in other words, unemployment is going to increase. So inflation has a negative impact on the economy in terms of production, employment, and distribution of income. Now we would like to calculate inflation. In order to calculate inflation, we have to rely on general price level. As we said, it is the continuous increase on the general price level. So how is general price level is calculated? Price level can be calculated using different measures. We are going to talk about 3 of them. Number 1, consumer price index, or known as CPI. Number 2, personal consumption expenditure later. And number 3, GDP deflator. First, we are going to start with the Consumer Price Index. CPI, or Consumer Price Index, is a measure of the average prices paid by urban consumers for a fixed basket of goods and services. Okay, this means that we are going to make a survey on urban areas about the goods they would like to consume in order to identify the basket of goods and services and the quantities they are going to purchase from each one of them, and then calculate the average price of all of them. Okay, so it is average prices for a basket of goods and services consumed by urban consumers. As GDP deflator, CPI for the base year is 100. Say, for example, CPI in 1984 is 100. This means that 1984 is the base year. And CPI in 2010 is 218. This means that average prices paid by urban consumers was 118% higher than that in 1984. Once again, 218 means that in 2010 the average prices paid by urban consumers was 118% higher than what's paid in 1984. Okay, now we would like to calculate Consumer Price Index. In order to calculate Consumer Price Index, we have 3 different steps. Number 1, select the basket. Actually, this is done by the government. Okay. Select the basket means goods and services will be included in the basket. What are the commodities that will be included in the basket that will be used in the calculation of the Consumer Price Index? As Consumer Price Index doesn't include all goods and services. It's just a basket. Number 2, conducting a monthly price survey. Usually usually price levels are calculated monthly, not annually. Okay, so we would like to conduct a monthly price survey in order to know the change in the price of each commodity monthly. And finally, number 3, calculate the CPI. Calculation of CPI has 3 main steps. Number 1, to calculate cost of CPI baskets at the base year. Number 2, calculate cost of CPI basket at current year. And number 3, calculate CPI. Okay, here is an example. If you are given the following data for 2 different years, this is 2010 and this is 2011, orange, and haircuts, P and Q. For 2010, the quantity is 10 and 5, while the prices are 1 and 8. And with respect to year 2011, quantities are 11, and 7, while prices are 2 and 10. Now we would like to apply the 3 previous steps. With respect to step number 1, calculate costs of CPI baskets in 2010, which is the base year. Cost of CPI basket will be calculated as 1 multiplied by 10 plus 8 multiplied by 5, which is 50. Okay, so it's calculated as price multiplied by quantity and then the summation. Now we would like to calculate cost of CPI baskets for year 2010. And 11. Okay, here we would like to measure the change in prices. As a result, we are going to keep quantity constant. We would like to keep quantity of the base year constant and calculate the change in the price level. This is the opposite to real and nominal GDP. Okay, so here we would like to take or to keep the quantity constant. So in this case, cost of CPI basket will be calculated as 2 multiplied by 10 plus 10 multiplied by 5. Okay, once again, we are going to keep quantity constant and just change the price. This is gonna be 70. Now step number 3. Step number 3 is to calculate CPI. CPI for year 2010 will be calculated as cost of CPI basket current divided by cost of CPI basket base multiplied by 100. So it's gonna be 50 divided by 50 equals 100. As we said, CPI for the base year is 100. Okay. For year 2010 is going to be 70, which is cost of CPI basket at the current year, divided by 50, which is cost of CPI basket at the base year, multiplied by 100. It's 140. Okay. So for the base year, CPI 100, and for the current year, CPI 140. Now we would like to calculate inflation rate. Inflation rates will be calculated as CPI current minus CPI last divided by CPI last, just like growth rate. CPI at time t minus CPI at time t minus 1 divided by CPI at time t minus 1 multiplied by 100. So in our example, it's gonna be 140 minus 100 divided by 100 multiplied by 100. So it's 40%. This means that inflation rate in 2011 is 40%, which means it's much more higher than 2010 by 40%. CPI is biased. Biased means that the value of inflation based on CPI is not correct. Maybe there is something wrong in its calculation. It's biased for 4 different reasons. Number 1, new goods bias. Number 2, quality change bias. Number 3, commodity substitution bias. And finally, number 4, outlet substitution bias. Okay, what's meant by each one of them? Number 1, new goods bias. As we said before, that the basket of commodities will be selected in the base year. In the calculation of CPI, baskets of goods and services will be selected in the base year. Okay, let's assume that the base year is 1980. Do you think there was mobile phone in 1980? So what about mobile phone nowadays? They are not included in the calculation of CPI if we are going to take the base year 1980. So this is a form of bias. Okay, number 2, quality change bias. Five years ago, you bought, say for example, a laptop for 2,000. But nowadays, you are going to pay 15,000. Do you think this is due to inflation rate or maybe quality change? Laptop in 2015 and laptop in 2020. This is the quality in 2020 is much, quality is much more higher. So you are going to pay for higher quality. If you are going to keep the number of units constant and just change the price, this can be counted as a change in inflation, but not a change in the quality of the products. Okay, number 3. Commodity substitution bias. If you know that price of meat increase to 200 per kilo, are you going to increase the number of units that you are going to demand from meat? No. You are not going to buy meat, maybe, and exchange it to chicken. But actually, what is going to be included in the calculation of the basket is meat with quantity, say 100 kilo per year. So this 100 will be multiplied by 200. But nowadays you are not going to buy the product, although it's gonna be calculated in the CPI basket. Number 4, outlet substitution bias. You would like to buy a brand, but the price for, say for example, a t-shirt, Adidas, is 5,000. So you are not going to buy it on the season, but you are going to buy it from an outlet store, or when there is a sale. So you are not going to pay 5,000. You are going to pay 2,500. But what is going to be counted in the calculation of CPI is 5,000, not 2,500. So this also should be taken into consideration. So these 4 reasons are reasons for bias in CPI. Maybe it's overvaluated or undervaluated. Okay. As a result, economists try to find another indexes. They used to use personal consumption expenditure income, which is related to C, GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X minus A. So personal consumption income, it's related to C. Actually, we are going to focus on the GDP deflation. Calculation is based on the calculation of nominal GDP and real GDP for the current year and the base year. As we said before, nominal GDP is calculated as quantity current multiplied by price current, and real GDP is calculated as quantity current multiplied by price base. So here we are going to keep the prices constant. GDP deflator will be calculated as nominal GDP divided by real GDP multiplied by 100. After the calculation of GDP deflator, we are going to calculate inflation. Inflation will be calculated as GDP deflator at time t minus GDP deflator at time t minus 1 divided by GDP deflator at time t minus 1 multiplied by 100. Okay, general problem. If you are given the following dates: three different products, movie ticket for example, popcorn, and drinks of soda for 2 different years, (2018 and 2019), and this is the quantity and the price of each one of them. Quantity of 2018 40, 20 and 40. Prices 5, 3 and 1. 2019 50, 30 and 60. Prices 7.5, 3 and 1.5. Required to calculate inflation using CPI and GDP deflator. Okay, let's start with using CPI. Using CPI, as we said, that we have to calculate cost of CPI basket in year 2018 and 2019, and then calculate CPI 2018 and CPI 2019, and then calculate inflation in 2019. Okay. In 2018, it's gonna be calculated as 40 multiplied by 5 plus 20 multiplied by 3 plus 40 multiplied by 1. So total is 300. In 2019, we are going to keep the quantity of 2018 constant with the new prices. Okay. So it's 40 multiplied by 7.5 plus 20 multiplied by 3 plus 40 multiplied by 1.5 equals 42. Now we would like to calculate CPI for 2018 and CPI for 2019. CPI is calculated as cost of CPI basket current divided by cost of CPI basket base. So it is 300 divided by 300 multiplied by 100. So for year 2018, CPI equals 100. For year 2019, it's gonna be 420 divided by 300 multiplied by 100. It's 140. Inflation rate will be CPI in 2019, which is 140, minus CPI in 2018, which is 100, divided by CPI in 2018, which is 100, multiplied by 100, it's 40%. This is the calculation of inflation rate using CPI. Now we would like to calculate using GDP deflator. In order to calculate using GDP deflator, first we have to calculate nominal GDP 2018 and 2019. Then real GDP 2018 and 2019. Then GDP deflator 2018 and 2019, and finally inflation rate. First, nominal GDP. 40 multiplied by 5 plus 20 multiplied by 3 plus 40 multiplied by 1, it's 300. In 2019, it's gonna be 50 multiplied by 7.5 plus 30 multiplied by 3 plus 60 multiplied by 1.5, and this is 555. Real GDP 2018, we are going to keep prices constant. as we said before, real GDP for nominal for the base year equal nominal GDP for the base year, which is 300. For 2019, we are going to keep prices constant with the new quantities. Okay, so it's gonna be 50 multiplied by 5 plus 30 multiplied by 3 plus 60 multiplied by 1. It's 400. Okay, step number 3. GDP deflator 2018 and 2019. Nominal GDP divided by real GDP multiplied by 100. Nominal GDP divided by real GDP multiplied by 100. So for the base year it's 100. For year 2019, 138.75. Step number 4 and the last step is to calculate inflation rate. Inflation is calculated as GDP deflator at time t minus GDP deflator at time t minus 1 divided by GDP deflator at time t minus 1 multiplied by 100. So it's 38.75%. This is the end of our lecture today. Thank you.